Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson here with my beautiful co-host and producer, Jade Harrell. What's up, Jade?
What's up, Shawn?
How are you today?
I am magnificent.
Magnificent.
Yes.
Huh? What is that?
Enormously magnificent.
Yes. You got it out. It's so big, you can't even get it out.
Can't even keep it in my cheek.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. We got a phenomenal show. It's contagious. We got a phenomenal show for you guys today. Today, we're going to be talking about beating inflammation, boosting fat loss, and recovering faster using the benefits of cold thermogenesis.
Woo.
It's about to get Chilly Willy the penguin up in here.
I loved him.
This is going to be so powerful. And by the way, everybody, if you're not checking out the videos, we've got videos of the podcast. Head over to themodelhealthshow.com, and we've got these episodes. You can join us in the studio, and you'll probably see I'm rocking the Flair today, the Model Health Show t-shirts.
There we go.
A lot of people have been asking about it. I was just like, well, why don't I have t-shirts?
Exactly.
So we have them now. So you can head over to themodelhealthshow.com/gear. And you can check out our t-shirts. We've got little cute tank tops for the ladies, all that good stuff. So we can represent out there and let everybody know that we're really focused on empowering ourselves and inspiring others.
That's right.
You know, it's what it's really about. So before we get into our incredible topic today, I want to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Onnit.com. Head over to ONNIT/model for 10% off all of your health and human performance supplements. We're huge fans of the hemp force protein, the most bioavailable protein structure for the human body. The most usable protein, which is called Adipose, is going to be found in hemp, exclusively in hemp. And I just got a message from somebody the other day on my site asking about how bioavailable it is for his body and how it feels good with his digestion.
Yeah.
He's been struggling for years, pushing himself to take like whey protein and had this digestive distress that I'm very familiar with myself. And he's like, I've been using hemp protein for a while and it feels incredible. There's been zero problems. So one of the things that he was concerned about though was the carbohydrate content that's in hemp, which is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 8 grams to 12 grams per serving. And if somebody is trying to take on a low carbohydrate protocol, that might be a little alarming. But here's the thing, these are not net carbs. So it's not taking into consideration the fiber content that you're going to find in the hemp protein.
No extra carbs.
Right.
Like no extra time.
And so this is what makes the hemp such a high quality and just more of a real food. You know, whey protein, it's negligible. There's basically 0 grams of fiber that you're going to find in this. And this is also talking about the satiation quality that comes along with the hemp force protein. You know, when you have it, you tend to not be hungry for a little while. Right. So this is speaking to the fiber content, but this is also the fiber content takes some of the weight away from the carbohydrate content. So it's basically if the fiber content is 7, the carbs are 14, you're going to get a net carb of 7.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so I hope that makes sense.
It does, actually.
So to put a nice bow on this, the hemp force protein is not going to be a higher carbohydrate food. As a matter of fact, very high quality source of protein, lower carbs, and lower fat, except there are going to be some of the whole hemp seeds found in the product, which are going to give you that nice ratio of essential fatty acids as well. So it's just a really great product. Tastes phenomenal. That's the bonus, you know, because someone else was also talking about the fact that they've been using the hemp protein, but they live somewhere in Europe and they can't get their hands on the hemp force protein as of now. So he's like, I got to tell you, it feels great, but I'm struggling with the taste. And I know that Onnit is working right now to get into different countries. You know, there's a lot of, just the political environment itself makes it a little bit difficult, but coming soon for people out there in other countries who are listening. You'll be able to get your hands on this stuff. But here in the U.S., Canada, definitely do yourself a favor. Head over to onnit.com/model. Get yourself some hemp force protein and also try out the Shroom Tech and Shroom Tech Sport. And it's just the best stuff ever.
It's really great.
It's the best ever. It's so good. It's so good.
It's really great.
So now let's go ahead and get into the iTunes review of the week.
Well, so cool that we can even say that we're communicating and sharing this message across so many countries.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Powerful stuff.
It is very powerful. So here's a response from someone that says 5 stars, all of your shows. This is by Herbal Gal. Says your shows are fabulous, fabulous and delicious. Your voice puts me in and your information lights me up. It's those positive vibes that I feel from you and your co-host. I am very familiar with the great deal of the information that you share, but you pull it together so beautifully. So now, instead of listening to other stations on my way to work, I tune in to you. Namaste.
How powerful is that?
I love it.
How powerful is that? This is what we have access to today that we didn't have access to even a couple decades ago.
Exactly.
We were basically bound to our radio and just kind of whatever was going to get played. You know, with today we have so much more dictation over what we allow into our conscious and unconscious mind. It's super powerful stuff. And this podcast movement and platform is just growing so rapidly. And even some people listening right now might even have already podcast apps built into their vehicle. You know, so this is happening now too. So you guys are on the cutting edge of where education is going. And I appreciate you so much for just taking the time to educate yourself and to empower yourself through this medium and talking about, you know, health, nutrition, lifestyle, because these things are the real governing force that determine your success in your relationships, the success in your finances, all that good stuff. You know, is really the foundation of is health. And if you don't have your health, then everything else is a tremendous struggle. So thank you so much for leaving those reviews on iTunes.
Yes.
Now let's go ahead and get into our topic of the day. Today we're talking about beating inflammation, boosting fat loss, and recovering faster through the benefits of cold thermogenesis. So cold thermogenesis is a really interesting topic, and I was first introduced to this concept by Peter Ragnar. Peter Ragnar, who was a guest on our show. It's a tremendous honor. He's somebody that I've been looking up to for many, many years. And if you've not heard that episode, we'll put it in the show notes.
Great episode.
It's just a life changer, you know, and it's a life-changing experience for me just to be able to talk to one of my mentors. And so I was first introduced to this concept through him, and he talked about this practice that he would engage in. Basically, contrast showers was one of the methods, right? And I'm just like, why would you get in a cold shower, man? Like this, it don't sound good. But he said he would do this to generate something he called more nerve force, right? More nerve force. And so I, being my very analytical self, I started to dig into the research, and what nerve force is indicating, basically he's speaking to the thermoelectric energy of the human body. Okay, and so some of us, we don't really realize that the human body is this bioelectrical mechanism, and we actually generate something called piezoelectricity just from movement, period. And even if you're not moving, your internal organs are moving all the time. Right. So you're constantly generating energy. You know, it's not a situation where we get energy, we make energy. Yeah. You know, this is how powerful we are. And so the thermoelectric energy basically speaks to how the surface of the skin can actually be very cold, but the internal organs remain at a steady temperature, you know, because there's this powerful insulation happening. You got like this built-in kind of electric blanket. Yeah. All right. So, but he talks about generating more nerve force. And what that does is it really helps you to be more adaptable, right? It really helps you to adapt better to stress. So you're creating a hormetic stress, basically. A hormetic stress is something you can expose your body to and it comes back better, right? And so this is what cold thermogenesis is. And just to summarize what this really means, this is just basically, it's a practice of exposing yourself to cold temperatures, very cold temperatures, for the purpose of these different health benefits that we're going to talk all about today. So we're going to come back more and talk about some of the details and science behind it. It's just going to blow your mind. But I did it for a little while. You know, I do the contrast showers just on the basis of my mentor saying that I should do it, right? But I wasn't consistent with it for sure. And I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. It's not fun. Right? But then it really hit me when I was at the Unleash the Power Within event with Tony Robbins this past year. Life-changing, game-changing experience. If you haven't gone to an Tony Robbins an event or experience, do yourself a favor. It's definitely life-changing. But to see this man who's almost 60, he's like 55 right now, and to see the energy that he has, it's absurd. You know, he was on stage for like 14 hours, like 13, 14 hours straight. I think he got a sip of water. He didn't even pee. He didn't even pee. And he's just going full out energy, engaging with people, sharing, teaching, taking us through all these things. And, you know, I'm seeing people in the audience going up and down in their energy and also leaving out, going to the bathroom, getting something to eat. He didn't do any of that. And he just rocked the house. It was incredible. And he's been doing this for decades. So to see what he's doing and to hear one of his secrets and to hear that he actually does these contrast baths, basically where he'll go and jump into a cold body of water, very cold body of water, and then he'll go and get into the hot tub, and he'll go back and forth and do that. And so that's a very powerful, stimulating event for the body. But then when I heard he does whole body cryotherapy,
Okay.
my ears really perked up then.
All right.
So when I got back home, I started to really investigate it because it sounded very interesting, because he's attributing this cryotherapy to his energy and his longevity, because he also looks really good.
Yes, he does.
To be almost 60 years old. and to put the amount of miles he's put on that body and that mind, it's just phenomenal. So I knew that there had to be something to it. If you're exposing yourself to this kind of information, the sky's the limit. There's some, and speaking of these individuals, Peter Ragnar, when people listen to that episode and you find out just close to his age and what he's doing, and he is shredded. I mean, he's in incredible shape, and he is like 3 times as old as some of the people listening right now. It's just shocking, but he's tapped into something, and these are the people we want to learn from.
That's right.
So let's talk about some of these benefits. Now, I mentioned a couple things. I talked about the contrast showers, contrast baths, and I also talked about the whole body cryotherapy, and we're going to dive in deep on all of these things. Now, the first thing we want to pinpoint here is the fat burning, because this is something we're all interested in. Nobody's like, you know what? I want to get a little bit fatter this year. Nobody's doing that. No, I mean, not really.
Right.
Not really.
Not widespread.
It's one of those things where it's constantly interested in how to have a more fit and lean, healthy body. So generally, in order to burn fat for fuel, you need to go through a certain process. First of all, your body will use glucose, your blood sugar. It's the most readily available, closest thing to the surface, first thing it's going to use. And then we're going to shift over to liver glycogen. Okay, so your stored liver and muscle glycogen. And this is basically when the glucose hits a certain level, your body will start to store it for later. And your body's got to burn through all of that first. So all of your blood glucose, all of your stored liver glycogen and muscle glycogen, and then it can start to utilize fat for fuel. Right? So it takes a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Now, something called brown adipose tissue, or BAT for short.
Okay.
Bad fat.
Fat.
I'm bad fat. So brown adipose tissue can actually immediately start to burn fat. Okay, so burn the white adipose tissue, or WAT. Right? Not as cool. So basically we have 2 kinds of fat. So we've got the white adipose tissue. That's the kind of, the stuff that we're trying to eliminate, the gooey butter cake stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then
you had to say gooey butter cake.
No,
not at all. Poison. Get thee away from me.
But the brown adipose tissue actually functions more like muscle in its thermogenic effects.
Nice.
And
where is it?
So here's the deal. Okay. And I talked about this in a previous episode,
right.
The day in the life of Shawn,
that
the day in the life of me.
Fat burning the master.
And I was talking about how
Warrior.
I do. Yeah, thank you. And so I talked about how I consistently do contrast showers pretty much every day now. And I love it. It's one of the best health practices that I have. I truly do love it. And I shared some of the reasons why. So just to talk a little bit more about it today. So the brown adipose tissue is found in all mammals, but especially in babies, right? And individuals who are exposed to frequent experiences in cold temperatures. They tend to have higher levels of brown fat as well, because they tend to generate heat and help them to keep warm. So babies have this really interesting ability to do that. And I don't know if there's any Game of Thrones fans out there, but recently my wife and I have started watching. It's like, what's the fuss about? And I keep on making fun of it. It's actually pretty entertaining. Right. But there's this baby that this girl keeps carrying around in all these different episodes. And they're always outside in the snow. And I'm just like, that baby is hard to kill. I mean, that baby is superhuman for sure.
Oh, shit.
Bat. The baby has the...
Baby got bat.
Bad fat. That's my Batman voice.
I was there. I get it.
All right.
I get it. I see you. Right. You still were smiling a little hard, though.
Anyway, so babies have more brown fat, and also people who expose themselves to extreme temperatures of cold consistently have more brown adipose tissue. And the brown adipose tissue on your body, and there's actually some wonderful scans, and I'll put this stuff in the show notes as well. So make sure to head over to themodelhealthshow.com so you can, of course, check out the video and you can get access to some of the resources I'm talking about today.
Always.
So there's a scan, you can actually see the brown adipose tissue where it is on the human body. And most of it is actually in your upper sternum, right here, this area here, and your upper trapezius and your shoulders. So your upper back area. Okay, so most of your brown fat, pretty much all of it, the rest of it's negligible, throughout the rest of your body, but the majority of it is going to be found there. All right,
That's
so really fascinating stuff. So if we're trying to directly engage it, there's certain things you're going to want to do, which we're going to come back to. So just a little side note here that the cold thermogenesis, this is a really powerful technique and strategy and tool we can use, but also exercising and fasting have both been found to increase your bad fat, your brown adipose tissue. Okay, so both of those things, but it's far, far more effective doing it through cold thermogenesis.
Freezing yourself.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So, when Batman went against Mr. Freeze?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even see that movie, but whatever.
You left me out here by myself. When Batman did that? No, I wasn't there, but you were.
I saw the commercial. You know who played Mr. Freeze?
Yes, it was, I don't know.
Oh. What are you doing, bad fat? All right.
I'm here to help you, bad fat.
So here's why I do the contrast shower personally. So here's just a couple things. Number one, on top of bringing you back to the present moment, for sure, it would definitely do that and help to really refresh you and kind of just get you really perked up. There are a lot of physiological and psychological benefits as well. Number one, improving circulation. This is really, really powerful and also something that's great for post-workout as well to improve circulation, improve healing. And when your body is cold, it actually requires more energy to heat you up. So right there, it can tell you that you're going to be burning more, quote, calories with this process as well. And brown fat is generally, it's known as the heat-generating type of fat that burns fat instead of storing it.
That's
okay.
Nice.
So the brown adipose tissue or brown fat burns fat instead of storing it. And as mentioned, it's your upper clavicle, your trapezius, and also just your upper back is where you're going to find it. So that's where I point the shower head. And I've got a nice shower head, chlorine filter shooting right at me. It's intense, but you just get adapted to it, and actually I come to enjoy it, which sounds crazy.
It does, but there's got to be different levels of that. So do you put it on kind of the rain shower light, or do you have it?
No, you go blast. Okay. No, not the massage, but I mean just the flow of the shower head itself. And by the way, I'll put a link. I'll put a link to my shower filter head in this episode. So make sure you head back to themodelhealthshow.com and check that out. So
I feel so much closer to you now that I know what shower head you use.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's there in the shower with me right now. It's kind of
we're like, huh?
It's crowded.
Yeah.
But
it's crowded.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm pointing that right at my upper chest, and then I turn around and point it right at my upper back.
Woo.
Yeah, it's
do you
it's
yell?
frosty.
Do you shout?
Do I? No. No.
I mean, it seems like you have to do a woo.
No, I don't. I don't do that.
No woos.
Not that I recall. Maybe it happens.
What about
no.
Okay.
You know what? Early on, I'd probably like, yeah. But shouting? No, I'm not shouting. Okay. Help!
Well,
help me.
Here's the example I have. If someone comes in and uses the bathroom while you're in the shower, although you didn't mean
Where do you live? Like, first, everybody's in the shower with me. Now everybody's coming in using the bathroom.
I'm just saying, in my house, there's nothing sacred. So they'll come, they'll use the bathroom, and then when they flush or so the dishwasher's running, there goes your contrast shower, even though you weren't ready. So then you're not expecting it. And so then there's automatic,
Yeah, that's not
Who
fun.
did that?
That's not fun. That's not planned.
Right.
But you planning this is something different. So here's another reason that this is effective. It also increases something called Adiponectin. Okay, Adiponectin. This is and for the science geeks out there like myself, this is something you want to keep an eye on. There's going to be much more information coming out about this. It functions like a hormone. And it actually has been found to improve insulin sensitivity and increase fat loss. Okay, adiponectin. So
is it related to this adipose tissue?
Yeah, so the cold thermogenesis, exposing yourself to cold, increases the production of adiponectin.
Got it.
Okay, and as it does increase the production, you can actually generate more brown adipose tissue and decrease the white adipose tissue, which will put you in a positive metabolic balance, in my opinion.
So that brings up a question.
Yeah.
And fat sounds really talented. That it burns fat versus storing. It creates the adiponectin, and it differs from some of the other fat that we have in our body. How much space does it really take up? Like, is it space friendly?
That's such a great. I
know it wasn't
such a
all
great
nerdy,
question.
but
Because
there's something to this. I'm wondering.
There's images that people share sometimes out there on the interwebs of you seeing 5 pounds of fat versus 5 pounds of muscle.
Exactly.
And you can see that the 5 pounds of fat, which is the white adipose tissue, takes up far more space. This is why individuals can shrink their waist, slim down, lose inches, but maybe the scale doesn't change much. Yeah. And they maybe are frustrated, understanding that there's less of you because you've decreased the amount of adipose tissue you're carrying around and decreased the adipose tissue and increased your lean muscle.
Yes.
So the brown adipose tissue, that's a great question. And I don't know the answer if it takes up more space.
Okay.
I would imagine it doesn't, because even metabolically, biochemically, it's structured different. I know that the white adipose tissue is like one white cell with like one nucleus, and then the brown adipose tissue is like multiple brown cells. And, it's a different biochemical mechanism itself. So I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Something I'll look into. That's such a great question.
If it's burning up the white fat, then it's okay.
It's okay.
Come on in.
But here's the issue though, is that the white adipose tissue can basically go everywhere. Right?
Disperse.
And the brown adipose tissue is going to be targeted and kind of located in specific places on the body. So that's got to be good.
I would love to have more bat fat that could reside in the hip thigh area, because that seems real male biased to be all up here.
It's just the way we're built.
I know. I'll take it up with the maker.
Yeah. Put your complaint in the box.
Right.
All right. So let's move on. So another thing that it does is it's been found to increase luteinizing hormone. Okay. Luteinizing hormone. When people hear this, they might think about sex, because it has a lot to do with sex and potentially increasing your sex drive. Not potentially, this actually does.
Like for sure.
So the whole tale about taking a cold shower to reduce the libido is actually not really true. Temporarily, sure, because there will be some, especially for guys, there'll be some,
diminishing.
There'll be some diminishing returns.
Yes.
With that exposure to cold. It's a natural thing. Everything draws in close, right?
Yes.
But as you warm back up and everything fleshes out, then you're probably going to be more acclimated to doing an act.
Yes.
Yeah, doing
Awake.
the do. Yes. So it actually, again, increases luteinizing hormone, which is a wonderful thing. Something else here that there's some information on this, but I need to dig further into this. It might actually stimulate the Glute 4. And so Glute 4 is this interesting pathway. So this is getting into conversation about insulin and storing of fats and breakdown of fats. So the Glute 4 pathway might be stimulated to increase fat burning as well through cold thermogenesis. All right. So, but that's one of the things, I've got a lot of research here and a lot of studies to back up a lot of stuff, but that's something that I'm still looking more into, because I don't think people have really figured that out yet. Okay.
Glute 4.
Yes,
Glute
4.
Glute.
So just a little caveat about this. This is one of those things where we are kind of hacking, where we're like hacking the human physiology. And I think this is a wonderful tool, but in my mind, this does not replace by any means mobility, movement, and right nutrition, right thinking. This is just something to add to the mix. And understanding our biological design, we've actually kind of developed these really interesting mutations to be able to burn fat when we're exposed to cold. It's really powerful. And this is the way that your genes are operating. Why not use it?
Sure. So you mentioned mutated. Is there a chance that our sensitivity will increase, or rather our sensitivity will decrease, and then it was not as effective.
That's something that I've really been thinking a lot about,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that just your consistent
we're
exposure
gonna
to it, you do
something.
get
Yeah,
used to it.
Exactly.
But the metabolic effects don't appear to have a big difference once you get used to it. This is more so just kind of like a mind-body thing
Mm-hmm.
as far as you getting used to it. But that brown fat stimulation and all the benefits we're about to talk about now still keep going from what we've seen. And there's some guys out there, and there's a TED Talk done on this who've been doing this stuff for decades. And they're, older in age, but they look phenomenal. Like their build, their health, all their biomarkers are just incredible. And their ability to control that mind-body connection and to change their heart rate and all this stuff is really on point. And so I'll put a link to that TED Talk I'm talking about as well in the show notes.
Sweet.
So I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to find out, is there a more efficient and effective way? Because I know this cold shower, this isn't like a submersion like the people I was talking about earlier, like Anthony Robbins, for example, and being able to go in from a hot tub into the cold water because I don't have that access where I live.
Mm-hmm.
So I start to investigate things. And my first time seeing this, and so you know how it works. When you hear about something, your attention gets attuned to it and you find yourself in the presence of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing Anthony Robbins talk about the cryotherapy, I was at On It HQ down in Austin, Texas, and they had just gotten in a cryotherapy unit. And it's like, but I was just bouncing all over the place, doing a talk, I do the Paleo FX talk and then coming back over there, and I did some videos. And so I was just on the go, so I didn't get to use it. And so when I got home, I made it a must that I've got to connect with somebody here in our city in St. Louis and do the cryotherapy. And so there was, let me share you guys
I was going
my
to say,
experience.
so you found someone.
Yeah. So
Aha.
it's called Sub-Zero Cryotherapy.
I love
And
the name.
they also have 2 locations in Texas as well. And people, you could just check them out online. Of course, we'll put them in the show notes. But Sub-Zero Cryotherapy. And so the cryotherapy, let me tell you a little bit about this. So this is known as whole body cryotherapy, or WBC. WBC. Or cryogenic chamber therapy or nitrogen sauna. Okay, because you're actually, what's cooling you off is nitrogen instead of you jumping into cold water, which cold water is just, even though it's external, it still gives this very visceral cold, like this very visceral feeling. This is totally different from that. Not saying that it's not cold or uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt the same way. All right. So this technology originated in Japan in the 1980s, and it was initially used as an effective treatment for rheumatoid arthritis. It was actually clinically proven to be effective for people struggling with rheumatoid arthritis.
Fascinating.
And then it started to get more into the health and recovery domain, especially for athletes. Okay. And so, by the way, there are people, big name people today in the athletic domain who swear by this therapy. So using whole body cryotherapy, but also the submersion and ice baths and things like that. So LeBron James uses the whole body cryotherapy. Floyd Mayweather,
And they take a
obviously
beating.
Anthony Robbins,
Yeah.
and I just saw even for the health and beauty component, Demi Moore, who she's 50 something as well.
You couldn't tell me that. She's
So-
phenomenal.
And there's some reasons behind that. We're going to talk about the skin benefits and all that good stuff. So back to this. So originated in Japan in 1980s, and what it does, and so you're going to be exposed to
A deep freezer.
negative 110 to negative 180 degrees Celsius temperature in this chamber. And the skin temp can drop to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit itself, right? So your core body temperature, though, remains relatively unchanged, okay? It's just the skin exposure. And what happens is your blood vessels constrict rapidly to preserve the body's core body temperature, okay? So it's doing this. It's a natural, again, built-in evolutionary response to that extreme cold. So it restricts your blood vessels. And coming out, when the session's done, so my session is 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the average is 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but
did
if
the
you're,
incredible
if
Hulk
you're going to
version.
play at the high level, 3 minutes is like the max, and you can do it.
Whatever.
So when you step out, so you open up the chamber when you're done, and there's this tremendous opening of the constricted blood vessels. And what happens is there's 3 times greater blood flow. And super powerful stuff. So you can probably see your skin change, the skin tone with a little flushing will happen, but you just feel so invigorated and this energy because everything's circulating better in your body all of a sudden. Now, the cryotherapy is actually 4 times colder than an ice bath. Okay, 4 times colder, but it's not as painful and arduous. And again, it's only 3 minutes versus 10 minutes minimum you typically do an ice bath. Okay, so, and by the way, so Tim Ferriss, another person who's talked about this in his book, The 4-Hour Body, he talks about this NASA scientist named Ray Cronise, right? Ray Cronise. And he was struggling trying to lose weight. And he's this guy who knows all about like science, biochemistry, thermodynamics, but he found that we were actually utilizing thermodynamics wrong because he found himself significantly overweight studying all this stuff to help human beings thrive. And he heard, and it kind of clicked for him when he heard the story about Michael Phelps, the Olympic gold medal multiple winning swimmer. Mm-hmm. And he heard that he eats 12,000 calories a day. And he's just like, what? I'm starving myself.
The injustice.
Trying to, but then he did the math. That's the thing. He did the math. He's like, for him to be able to accomplish that feat, and consume that amount of calories, he need to be swimming the butterfly stroke for 10 hours straight to burn that amount of calories. He's like, it can't be that. It doesn't make any sense. He's in the pool a few hours a day. Mm-hmm. But what it is, that X factor that people weren't taking into consideration is he's training in a cold pool. Mm-hmm. And that radically increases the thermodynamic effect of the body because the calories in, calories out model leaves out so much of what's going on with your hormones and what's going on with thermodynamics and how your body, it doesn't just store fat. Yeah. It doesn't just store calories. There are many ways that it can use them and many ways that it can get rid of them, mm-hmm. And one of those is through generating heat mm-hmm. and keeping you warm, right? So he started to do these contrast baths as well, exposing himself to extreme cold. And he went from losing like 1.5 pounds a week using this standard kind of really popular diet program to losing over 4 pounds a week. All right. Man. So he effectively like over tripled or about tripled his fat loss by doing the nutrition protocol change and the cold thermogenesis. Mm-hmm. So again, I saw that and I'm just like, wow, that's really fascinating. This was years ago when I read this, but still I was like, I'm not getting in that ice bath. So there's a lot of great data out there on this. So if you guys want to check out, if you haven't read The 4-Hour Body, or if you have, want to go back and read that section, I believe it's like page 122 or 123. Let's see. So just to share a little bit about my experience. So I go to the facility and they take you into the chamber. They get it nice and frosty first, the nitrogen chamber. And by the way, so nitrogen is the majority of what you're breathing in the air right now. So it's not like hurtful to the human body. So but if you breathe it like directly like nitrogen, it can make you lightheaded and all that kind of stuff because the air we're breathing is not just nitrogen. So no concern there about toxicity, and all the studies also point to the fact that it's non-toxic. So you go into the place and you basically strip down to your underwear, but you keep socks on, or they provide socks for you, because opposite of heat, so heat rises, right? Heat rises, like when I lived with my mother and father and they didn't want to turn on the air condition and I had the room upstairs, right? In these hot St. Louis summers, I'd walk up the stairs and I'd see the little heat waves like, this can't be good. That's right. And just to sleep at night, because that heat also created really poor sleep quality, which we're going to talk about too. And so I'd be in my room, like first I'd spray myself with a water bottle and then I'd be like butt naked and I just hope my brother doesn't come in and try to sleep like that, with the fan blowing on me, you know, that fan. And so heat rises, cold sinks. Okay. So that cold air, the nitrogen is actually going to pool at the bottom. And so you got to make sure you wear socks when you're in there. And also they give you some slippers to put on and also some gloves. So that's what you put on. You get into the chamber. So if you guys want to actually see the video of my experience there at Sub-Zero, getting the cryotherapy treatment done, just head over to themodelhealthshow.com/cryo. So that's CRYO. And you can actually see the video and get a little bit more information about it. All right. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. So after I step into the chamber and they start the 3 minutes, for me. And by the way, so it has like a platform, so raise and lower it to get your head out of the chamber. And there's different ones. There's some in other places that you can walk into the whole thing. You like put a mask on. But this one, they'll just raise you up so your head is out of the unit.
Now it's really sounding like a Batman episode.
And then the treatment starts. And so after a certain segment of time, it'll kick more nitrogen in there and it'll just keep getting colder and colder. And by the time it kind of sneaks up on you, by the time that 2 minutes ish gets around, you're like, I'm good now, but you just kind of hold on. And what they'll do, they're probably, if somebody's in there working with you, which there is at this facility, they're always there and very, very helpful. They'll just be talking with you and kind of taking your mind off of it. And so after this session's over, they'll leave the room. You open the door, and you can see the nitrogen kind of move out, put your clothes on. I like to do a little bit of mobility right after that. And you just feel rejuvenated, like you feel really, really good. And so that was my experience.
Wow.
Nothing but positive things. I did some hard training 2 days prior so I can kind of test as well. Like, am I recovering faster? Because usually, especially after like a hard day working on the legs, deadlifting, weighted lunges, squats, all that stuff, my legs are like trashed for a couple of days. And it's just kind of like, I saw another meme on the Avengers when Bruce Banner was at the end of the movie. He's like, "That's my secret. I'm always angry."
Yeah.
That's my secret. I'm always a little sore. So that was one of the memes, just kind of constantly sore. And I know a lot of people probably experience that as well. It's not one of the pleasant parts of working out, but I actually recovered faster. Like,
you noticed?
The next day, the pain was minuscule compared to what it is, what it normally is. Yeah.
Oh, well,
and
so definitely worth it.
Again, different people experience different things.
Sure.
But for my experience, it felt really good, like it worked. And so that's why I went back again as well. And so now it's going to become...
how recently did you go back again? Is that something you would do more than once a week? Because, see, the contrast shower, you're doing daily.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Tony Robbins and his baths, but,
Yeah, he does that daily. He does it daily.
Goodness.
And I know that I think he has a cryotherapy unit in his home. And by the way, so we're going to be having his son, Jarek Robbins, on here coming really soon, and I'll ask him about it as well. But Jarek is a phenomenal guy, just out of this world, great human being. So cool. So we're gonna have a great show when he comes on as well. So yeah, if you have access to it, a lot of athletes, what's recommended is doing it twice a day when you're in serious training.
Oh wow.
Or if you got like the playoffs going on, for example, what's happening right now with basketball. But at least 3 times a week, would be ideal. And so let's move on now. Let's get into the science. This is what we're really about here on the Model Health Show, is kind of breaking down what's going on with this stuff. Why is it effective? Why am I even interested in something like this? All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the muscle training and recovery. There was a review of whole body cryotherapy in athletes that was published in Sports Medicine in 2010 that noted that treatment had an anti-inflammatory effect. And this was a study of rugby players and kayakers, both 2 tremendously challenging sports.
Yes.
I just saw some rugby the other day, and I'm just like, they're hitting each other with no equipment, just full on. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, that's impressive. But it's also exciting, like, especially, somebody who played football, like when I saw it, it's like, wow, I want to play rugby. And then it's just like, no, I don't. The more rational human brain, the more evolved brain kicked in and said, Shawn,
no, you don't.
Just go for a walk, bro. So anyways, a study of rugby players and kayakers who Dr. Kelly Starrett, who's a guest of the show, he was a professional kayaker and just gave himself all kinds of problems with that. So just to touch a little bit about the underlying mechanisms on why this actually works, the co-stimulation shows positive effects on the muscular enzymes creatine kinase and lactate dehydrogenase. And it should be considered a procedure that facilitates athletes' recovery. Okay, that's what was noted in Sports Medicine Journal in 2010. So that's just one of the aspects here. Also increases semiconductive currents in the cells, which is awesome. Basically, we've got better cellular communication happening via this treatment. Something else interesting here as far as recovery, it improves circulation. Temporarily constricts blood vessels like we talked about earlier, and afterwards you get this increased blood flow. And much of the benefit comes when you step out of the chamber, right? And there's nearly a 300-degree change in temperature, okay? powerful,
Yes, it
nearly
is.
300-degree temperature change, causing the blood vessels to expand rapidly, rushing oxygen-rich blood from the core to the muscles.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oxygen-rich blood to the core muscles.
Yes.
Ah,
Also, injury healing. Tons of research about this one. I'm not going to talk too much about it. There's so much here. But one of the great things about this is also the pain relief because of the endorphins. There's going to be a release in endorphins as your body's trying to protect you and make you feel like it's not so bad. It's not so bad. You feel good, right? You know, your body does this naturally. So, and by the way, so it was originally created for the purpose of the rheumatoid arthritis. So dealing with pain, dealing with recovery. So injury healing, there's some great benefits there as well. Now let's talk about skin health. So this is something that Demi Moore is utilizing this procedure for. And by the way, you can actually do this, have treatments done on your face as well, where they have like a little wand basically
yes, freeze my
at different
face.
facilities, at different places in the country. But not at this particular location. They just have the units there. And so this is what I'm more into it for. I don't want to freeze my face off personally, but it might be great.
I'm
But,
interested in the face freezing, I have to say.
ooh,
I mean, even before the chamber business, once you
Mm.
said you could just run the wand across my face,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, hey, I
hey,
wonder who.
you never know. All right, so skin health. So it stimulates the production. This is powerful. It stimulates the production of collagen.
Yes, baby.
It
I knew
stimulates
it.
the production of collagen.
Yes.
And also been found to stimulate the production of anti-inflammatory proteins as well that can cause skin to break out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so really great, powerful stuff. And this is going to be inherently affecting you when you're doing the whole body chamber for sure. But the facial treatment, that'd be something else to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's some other anti-aging effects that are possible here as well. Numerous studies have highlighted the beneficial effects of the antioxidant status. Okay,
Oh,
so it's
wow.
been shown to increase your antioxidant status of your body. And what are antioxidants? Antioxidant, when you hear antioxidant, think antioxidant, anti-aging, antioxidant, anti-aging. Oxidation, because the human body we're basically like water. We're like water with a bunch of minerals, just kind of mixed together, you know? So we're kind of like a battery, walking, talking battery. And so being that we're made of all these different minerals, what happens to minerals externally? They oxidize when they're exposed to stressors. Okay, so they could be rain, for example. So with us, we start to break down as part of aging is oxidation of our tissues.
Yeah.
Okay, so antioxidants are really important for protecting us against that stuff. Obviously, you can do a lot of that dietarily, but the most powerful antioxidants for the human body are those that are produced endogenously.
Yeah.
Okay, so those that are produced by your liver, for example, are far more powerful. So the glutathione that your body's going to produce on its own is far more powerful than any supplement you can take. So if you could do something to trigger your body to increase its antioxidant production itself,
Yeah.
wow,
You
you've
should.
got a real win there.
That's a genuine youth fountain.
And so on the opposite side as well, it's been found to decrease total oxidative stress. All right, so it helps your body to defend against stress better. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about cortisol and testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we know, cortisol is a stress hormone, right? It's not that it's bad for us. It's wonderful. It actually does a lot for us. It helps us to get up and get going. But it's when it's out of balance that could be a problem. And a lot of people in our world today, we're exposed to a lot of different stressors. So cortisol is going to tend to be on the higher end. So with this protocol, okay, with the cold thermogenesis, it's been found to reduce levels of cortisol clinically. Okay, and also numerous studies have found that there's effects on the hormone status of athletes following the whole body cryotherapy exposure. And some of these changes related to improved testosterone levels in the male athletes, right? And now the numbers there were not particularly significant, but the fact that testosterone did go up is significant in and of itself. And there's also, it's pretty well known that exposure for your family jewels with cold, so like putting a cold pack down there for a while can actually increase your testosterone. So that's something that in the cryo chamber, you definitely might feel. I know I did. So definitely I can see. And immediately that's what I thought about. It's like, my testosterone is probably going to go up from
Oh,
this.
boy.
And then that's what really was a prelude for me to go and find some studies to either affirm or deny it.
Good.
And there was more on the affirming side.
Very good.
All right,
No,
so-
was the pun intended there?
You know how we do it.
Affirming.
So also positive effects on sleep quality was noticed in certain studies. So sleep quality was improved as a result of the whole body cryotherapy exposure in studies with athletes as well. And this is a natural human process, the thermogenic process that we've talked about that I cited in my book, Sleep Smarter. The human body, just in preparation for sleep, there's a natural drop of your core body temperature to help you to create the right environment in your body physiologically to get the best sleep possible.
Yeah.
So sleeping in a colder environment is really conducive to you sleeping better. We all know that when we're too hot, our sleep just isn't that good. We're just uncomfortable moving around. You're sweaty and, ew. So it's not that fun. But if it's cooler and you got your nice blanket and you're just kind of tucked in, we can have a tendency to sleep deeper and sleep longer. Yeah. And there's a lot of studies to back that up.
It does feel much better.
So last thing really quickly is just to circle back around to the fat burning aspect. The increased production of your brown adipose tissue, a.k.a. bad fat.
I wonder what the sidekick is for bad fat. What's the Robin to bad fat?
I don't even know. I don't even want to get into that one.
Okay, it's a helper.
The evil villain though is Wat.
Right.
Watman versus Batman. So the cold thermogenesis and the whole body cryotherapy, the increased production of the brown adipose tissue will do all the stuff we talked about earlier. Increased production of adiponectin, increasing the luteinizing hormone, all that good stuff. Now you don't have to go to a center or a facility to do this treatment. But if you do want to, the company that I use is Sub-Zero Cryotherapy. And like I said, they're based here, one of their locations here in St. Louis, right in the St. Louis surrounding area. And there's 2 locations in Texas. If you do happen to go to one of those facilities, and just, like we said, we'll put in the show notes, so just go to Dr. Google. Make sure you mention me. Make sure you mention Shawn Stevenson said to come check you guys out, or the Model Health Show. I heard about this on the Model Health Show. And I'm sure that they're going to hook you up with some kind of a discount. All right. So, and I actually talked to the facility here. They said they'll give you $50 off any of their packages by mentioning my name or the show.
Cool.
All right. So, cool. See, you said it again.
Cool.
All right. So, but I'm sure we can also hook something up with the Texas locations as well. So, but there's many facilities, just, check in your local area. But you don't need to do that. You can just take advantage of this stuff by utilizing the contrast showers and get some of the benefits there. This is just like good, better, best. The best, in my opinion, is the whole body cryotherapy. It's just much more efficient, or you can do the contrast baths, cold baths. If you've got the, if you got the kahunas to do that, you can go for that as well. Many different ways, but I do encourage you to get yourself a little bit uncomfortable so you become more comfortable.
Yeah, get cold.
Okay, so just to really side note here really quickly is the contrast shower. You want to do just a couple minutes if you can. Start with 10 seconds of cold and then go back to the warm/hot water for 30 seconds and just rotate that for maybe 3 rounds. But you want to get yourself to the point where you can do a couple minutes. Okay. So I'll usually do 1 or 2 minutes on the front, 1 or 2 minutes on the back, and that's how I wrap up my showers. So thank you everybody so much for tuning in to the show today. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. I just want to encourage you again to take action to, again, ease into the discomfort so that your life becomes more comfortable. It's funny how, when we get out of our comfort zone, we start seeing definitely some turbulence, but then we start seeing a lot of benefits and results, and we learn a lot, but your body also learns a lot as well, so utilizing this technology, utilizing your body's capacity to burn fat faster, to recover faster, to have more energy through exposure to cold is just a really great idea and a great tool that you have access to should you decide to use it. All right. So thanks again for tuning into the show. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.